Hey everyone, welcome back to another Fall Obsession podcast episode. My name is Sam Thrash. I'm your show host over here. Appreciate y'all tuning in. This week, I have John Stallone from Howl for Wildlife joining us again on the show. If you're a new listener or you didn't catch episode 181 when him and Mike came on our show to talk about some of the stuff going on in Colorado, this was kind of leading into the big escalation of Proposition 127 at the time last year. We had a great conversation. A lot of it back then was specific to that. This time, John is coming on our show to not just talk about stuff that's following the big 127 in Colorado, but just some of the other areas that Hal is actively trying to get involved in, including still working on various things at the ballot box. And you guys may hear that and initially think, well, what's next? What are they trying to get passed next? It's not necessarily they're trying to get something else passed right now at the ballot box, but John and some other individuals involved have a strategy to try and reverse some of what has already been done through the ballot box by using the ballot box, kind of beat them at their own game. So it's a very interesting episode. We talk about more than just the Wolves situation in Colorado. We also talk about a House bill in Colorado that would be some pretty crucial language that would lay a foundation for them to take away certain hunting rights in Colorado. We talk about some stuff going on in California with lion and bear hunting, as well as how folks need to be paying attention and how they can get involved, even if it's not directly in your state or your backyard, and why it's important to do that. So, very important episode. I hope you guys stay tuned. John is one of the most knowledgeable and most involved and passionate guys about all this kind of stuff when it comes to hunters' rights, conservation, and being able to advocate for hunters and give them the tools that they need to do the job themselves when necessary. So, hope you guys enjoy this podcast with him. First and foremost, a little bit of housekeeping before we get to the podcast. This episode is brought to you guys by Hoot Camo. Been wearing Hoot Camo for a couple hunting seasons now. I've worn it in Texas. I've worn it in Colorado. I've worn it in Idaho. I love these patterns. They're absolutely phenomenal. They're versatile. They adapt to different environments. Go to Hoot's website if you want to understand the mentality and the design engineering and all that kind of stuff behind these patterns because like I said, they're just incredible. The gear's high quality. It holds up well against the elements, against the wind, stuff that's going to stick you, stab you, or poke you. We got plenty of those down here in Texas. Again, love my Hoot camo. Looking forward to be wearing some of their lightweight stuff this coming turkey season. Hoot has a code for you guys. It's Fall Obsession 15. If you guys want to save some money on your next order, head to hootcamo.com and see what they have over there. You can buy a full set of gear or even just a hat, a shirt, some of their lifestyle wear, a hoodie, whatever they have on there for you. So it's Hoot Camo and hootcamo.com. Go check them out. Trophy Edits also has a discount code for you guys. It is Fall Obsession, all lowercase letters, one word, and that can save you guys some money with them. Trophy Edits is like digital taxidermy, guys. We all have mounts on our wall that represent a certain moment, a significant time, a significant hunt for us in our hunting journey. And pictures can do the same. We don't always have that mount. Sometimes it doesn't even involve a dead animal. Sometimes it involves just being out there in the woods with a family member or loved one. So if you are wanting to capture those moments in the form of photographs and have them framed, have them cleaned up, have them put on your wall, Trophy Edits is the place to go to do that. They have a professional team that does phenomenal work on pictures and cleaning them up and coloring, lighting, focus, all that kind of stuff. Just go over to the website and you can see the difference that they make on some of these photos. And if you want to order prints, get one for the wall in your man cave, your study, your house, wherever it might be, then go to Trophy Edits. The link's in the description on this podcast episode. And from there, you guys can place your order and see what they can do for you. Use that code to save some money. Go check out Trophy Edits. Bear River Archery is the official bow shop of the Fall Obsession team here in North Texas. If you are anywhere close to us here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, you have got to go up to Van Alstyne and check out Bear River and see what Justin and the guys are doing up there. They do great work. They got that small town feel. They give you your money's worth when it comes to working on your archery equipment and getting you set up for success. Again, Justin Canaday, Bear River Archery in Van Alstyne, Texas. Go check them out and let them know that Fall Obsession sent you. The Outdoor Call Radio app is a podcast partner. Outdoors Dan from Respect the Game TV. He created an app that you can download on any device where you can stream hunting shows and podcasts on a loop every single day. You will hear our show, Fall Obsession Podcast, playing 3 or 4 times on a loop on that app on Mondays, the same day that we put out new episodes. And there's also tons of other hunting shows and podcasts on there that we all know and love that you can listen to. Go download the app today. It's free to download. You can start streaming immediately. And go follow Outdoors Dan and the Outdoor Call Radio app on Facebook because he does a couple of different live radio shows throughout the week. And even if you're not local to those Midwestern radio stations, you can catch those live broadcasts on his Facebook Live. It's Outdoors Dan and the Outdoor Call Radio app. Go download it today. I want to thank you guys again for tuning into another Fall Obsession podcast. If you have not done it already, please hit that follow or subscribe button, whatever they have up there for you guys, to subscribe to the show, to follow along with the journey, to catch new episodes on a weekly basis. If you're on our YouTube or watching the podcast video on the YouTube channel, then make sure you guys are subscribed and your notifications are turned on because we have some awesome content coming down the pipe, some of which is already released. I know I've been talking about it for a long time on the show, but if you missed it, our elk film, The Steep and Deep, an Idaho elk hunt from 2024. That film is on the YouTube channel. It's free to watch. You guys can check it out if you got about a half hour of your time. See just an incredible experience that we had up there in the mountains of central Idaho last year. That's the first of many other films and productions that we're working on right now and trying to bring to you guys either through Carbon TV or through that YouTube channel. So be sure you are subscribed over there. Carbon TV is another place that you can catch Fall Obsession shows and productions. We got 4 different shows streaming on there. We have this podcast, our staff-inspired video podcast series called Couch Chats is on there, as well as our 2 different hunting shows, Texas Dirt and Midwest Mindset. Make sure you check out everything we have going on at Carbon TV. Follow us on all the social media platforms, or at least the ones that you are active on: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever it's called now, and TikTok. We are on all those platforms, posting daily with regular updates from our team and our organization. And go to fallobsession.com. That's the website if you want to see everything that we do. All of our content filters through there. You can watch all the shows, listen to all the podcasts directly from the website if you want. You can pick you up a hat or a shirt if you want to support us. We also have plenty of educational content on there in the form of gear reviews, educational articles, how-tos, all that kind of stuff. We are everything hunting and outdoor media. You guys make sure you are plugged in and checking out everything that we're doing over here at Fall Obsession. And with that, we are going to turn it over to our conversation with John Stallone from HOWL for Wildlife. You guys are listening to another Fall Obsession podcast.
Oh, you got her, dude. She's down. Let's go.
Dude, I just shot a deer of a lifetime.
Freaking smoked him.
One with nature, and if you're a believer, one with God.
Definitely gets your heart pumping. Boy, you are in trouble.
Fall Obsession Podcast.
Welcome back, guys, to another Fall Obsession podcast. I'm Sam, hosting y'all. My guest this week is John Stallone from HOWL for Wildlife. Welcome back to the show, man.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate you.
Yeah, always a good time, always a pleasure. Looking forward to today's conversation, man. We have some new listeners, some new folks in our audience and everything these days. So for those who haven't gone back and listened to episode 181 when you and Mike Costello were on the show, give us a little bit of intro and insight into who is John Stallone and what is HOWL for Wildlife.
Well, John Stallone is easy. I've been that for 49 years. So, I'm just a really passionate hunter. Been hunting since I was a kid. Been in the hunting industry in one way, shape, or form since 2001. Far as I know, I'm one of the original podcasters.
Yeah.
I started a podcast back in 2004. And I'm the Vice President of HOWL for Wildlife. So I'm a writer. I mean, there's so many different things. I can just sit here and take up 20 minutes of time,
Yeah.
but it's not really important.
Well, very actively involved in everything. And yeah, a podcaster before podcasting was cool, So
Yep, that's for sure.
That's awesome. What does Howl for Wildlife do?
Um, it's hard to say, it's hard to boil down, but I kind of set it up into three categories. The first category is we provide the tools and education for hunters to have their voice be heard by the decision makers on policy that would affect their ability to hunt and fish, or wildlife management decisions that would ultimately affect opportunity and so on and so forth later down the line. That's probably the crux of what we do. Like, the I don't want to say the most important because it's definitely not the most important because I think they're all important. Um, but we do a lot of it, and that's what we're mostly known for because our action center, if you've ever taken it for a test drive or if you're a member, um, you go on there, you find an action, you find the action, you read about the action, you put your name and your number, and then boom, you've done more for hunting in 30 seconds than you've ever done it without getting into the inner workings of how that works. But
Oh yeah.
um, it's a super effective tool. The next thing we do is we act as like a conduit between state level issues and we bring them to a national tension. I'll bring up like last year we were working on that Colorado deal where they were trying to eliminate mountain lion hunting.
Mhm.
Now, chances are, if you've heard about that, you heard about that in any way, shape, or form, it came somewhere from us, like originated from us somehow.
Yeah.
We took it as a state level issue, could have left it there as a state level issue. We partnered with CRWM and we brought it to the masses. That's why people in Texas know about what was going on in Colorado. Simple as that. Like that's a lot of what we do. Um, and we're going to talk about that again today because we got another
Mhm.
national issue. It's further down the line, which is great. We're getting involved in a lot earlier, but um, and the third like major thing we do, and I think ultimately this will be the thing that wins the war. And I say war, the war between anti-hunting and hunting. Um, so there's 5% that are hunting in the United States and about 5% that are anti-hunting. So that means there's 90% in between. That 90% in between has all the power, really. Um, if something comes to a vote, we need them to sympathize with what we got going on.
Yeah.
So in order to do that, we developed this program called Hunting is Human, and we bridge the gap between the non-hunter and the hunter. So they have an education on what we do and how we do it, and what it means to us. That way, when they're faced with the propaganda that's constantly put out there by the anti-hunting establishment, um, they don't fall prey to that. They
Right.
don't see, they don't think we're out there lopping off heads or just, killing things for bloodlust or whatever negative connotation that you've heard about
Mhm.
hunters and what we do. So that is a huge thing. Like that is something that I think all us hunters need to be mindful of and start working towards. Because we all interact with people who don't hunt. We go to work, 10 cubicles next to us, whatever, then maybe one of them hunts.
Mhm.
And but we want them to say, "Oh, I know Sam. He's a good guy. He partakes in this, and he's told me that they eat the meals. This is something that is part of his heritage. He takes his kids. He does this. He does that, and it's not what I'm being exposed to. It's not these bloodthirsty maniacs running out there willy-nilly shooting at stuff.
Oh yeah.
So,
Yeah, you know as well as anybody that it takes one. I don't want to speak ill of anybody, but one idiot basically to paint hunting in a bad light, and everybody's
Oh,
jumping on it, and then it creates all the poor perceptions. And
sure.
your analysis, the way you laid it out on, okay, there's this massive group of just uneducated individuals in between that simply don't know one way or the other about
Hmm.
hunting. And we've,
Yeah,
you know, and strategically taking this conversation into the stuff with Colorado and our direction today, we were pretty we were paying close attention and had a lot of content on our pages, on our podcast and everything about Proposition 127 and that whole thing last year. And likewise, we drew in, even on our own social media pages, a lot of people, a lot of anti-hunters that were taking
of
to the
course.
comments and voicing their opinion, in the online media world and stuff. And I tell folks I don't engage to try and change their mind. I'm not going to change their mind. It's providing the perspective and, to your point, the education to those who just simply don't know, so that they have a better understanding. And that that was a huge part. And I wanted to talk about just Colorado being in the spotlight with the wolf reintroduction first, and then you had Proposition 127 last year, and the lion ban, and them trying to push that ballot box initiative. And organizations such as HOWL, I know CRWM and Dan Gates were pretty heavily involved there in Colorado,
Oh yeah,
and just absolutely hitting the education piece hard to play the battle on their level, or the battlefield that they chose to play it on. And
right.
we're getting closer and closer to that. I feel like that's going to be a more common thing that we're having to pay attention to, not just in Colorado, but there's other states with big and small issues, I think, that are gonna at some point in the near future be on the radar with similar circumstances. So
Sure, absolutely. And you're going to see it in all the states that are not um, favorable to that, or sorry, not favorable to hunting, in meaning they had the political climate to get that achieved.
right.
Um, and you're going to see that in the states that are not insulated from um, that type of strategy. So, and I say that because, all right, so here in Arizona, that's where I live. Um, we we kind of, I don't know if I could curse on this or not, but we shit the bed,
Yeah.
so to speak. Um, I didn't know this. We didn't know. Howell didn't know. We were informed about it like 2 weeks or like 2 weeks, I think, before the election. But there was a bill introduced, and it was introduced by, I believe, the ag guys. Um, and had there been some continuity there, and they looped in the hunters, and I think we could have won it. But the whole thing was, there was a proposition, I think it was called Proposition 134, if I remember correctly. And what it did was and to me, this makes perfect sense, not just in a hunting standpoint. Should be like nationwide, it should be this way. But in order for somebody to introduce a something to the ballot, they had to get signatures, X amount of signatures from every county in the state.
Hmm.
So you were getting this broader perspective, this broader input into whether or not this is something that the state wanted. Right now, most of the places, especially Colorado or whatever, you could literally go down to, downtown Boulder, sit outside of a Whole Foods and grab as many signatures as you want.
Yeah.
Same thing here in Arizona now, but the not now, but it has been this way. One thing that Arizona has is a little bit higher number of people that you need to, or higher number of signatures, but it's not that much higher. Um, anyway, so that didn't pass, but I think a lot of people are starting to like realize this, and we're gonna maybe start working to put in some of these protective measures into you'll see, like last year we worked on in Florida, um, we got the right to hunt and fish put in their constitution. And I say
Mhm.
we, it wasn't just Hal had a part in it, but um, Travis Thompson actually was the guy that was like spearheading that in Florida. Um, but we had a part of bringing that to light and making that more of a national issue. Um, so they got that pass, but there's still, I think, 22 states that don't have, or maybe there's 24 states that have it, so the rest don't have it.
Mhm.
Um, that right to hunt and fish. And that right to hunt and fish offers a layer of protection. It doesn't solve everything. So we were talking about the ballot box thing. I kind of took us off on a tangent here. We are adamantly against ballot box biology. But ballot box biology, unfortunately, the only way to overturn ballot box biology is to use the ballot again.
Mhm.
And that's one of the things that we are working towards. And it's funny. It's funny because we spent all this time, this whole last year and a half, talking about ballot box biology is bad, ballot box biology is bad. And now here we have to use the ballot. It's not ballot box biology per se, but we have to use the ballot. We want to, so let me back up a second. In 2020, during that election, Colorado passed by a small margin, like 1%,
Mhm.
the reintroduction of wolves. So, um, there was only 33,000 more people that voted to reintroduce wolves into Colorado, more than did not. And most people weren't talking about it. We weren't even around. Howell was not around in 2020. Um, and they they passed this, and last year they started actually reintroducing wolves. It took them 4 years to actually start reintroducing them. And so the first wolves, I think, hit the ground in December
Mhm.
in 20. I might be wrong, but I don't remember. So I feel like that's what it was, December 2024. Um, and what we want to do is introduce a bill to put a halt on that. Not go kill the wolves that are already there, but stop reintroducing wolves. Because Howlful Wildlife's we are not anti-wolf. Um, I am not anti-wolf. If wolves come in on their own, on their own agenda or the natural attrition, whatever you want to call it, okay, so be it. I'm okay with it, but I also feel like there should be a management plan in place, and I also think that all ecosystems should be looked at holistically, and nothing should be excluded. So if you're going to have more predators, you need to like have this balance. You need to have this idea that if we take from here, we got to take from here.
Right.
If we add here, we got to add here. So, um, that being said, we want to. We're working with some people, and it looks like it's going to come to fruition here. We're working towards undoing that ballot measure, basically.
Gotcha. So that would you're talking about I think you worded it as a halt on the reintroduction. From there, and I know at this point this is like I'm getting way futuristic in my outlook right here, but from there, would there be an eventual, hunting season, or would that be a goal to shoot for, depending on the wolf populations and what goals are being met
Sure.
there?
Yeah. So, having a wolf, we started working on and pushing a wolf management plan in Colorado. I think it was last year or the year before. Um, and there's not much of a management plan. Now,
Mhm.
wolves, if enough of them come into Colorado where they need to be managed, then yes, that is something we would want to advocate for. We would want to have the hunting of and management of lethal and non-lethal take.
Mhm.
So, um, but as of right now, what we want to do is actually kind of put a halt on it that they don't get to that level that they
Right.
even need to.
Yeah.
managed.
Kind of a hold what you got right now, for sure.
Right.
And this would be like you're still talking like a year and a half or more out. We're still talking like a 2026 ballot
It's a
measure, correct?
2026, correct, yes.
Okay.
So we'll be talking about ballot measures and all that stuff, in 2026 leading up to that election cycle. And but right now is the time for us to start generating the funds and so on and so forth. So just to give you a idea, and we'll compare it to that lion deal in Colorado. That costs $5 million.
Hmm.
What we did there.
Wow.
Okay. In order for us to be as effective, we need to at least reach that, if not more than that. Um, so now it's time to start kind of fundraising for that, getting that into the war chest, so to speak. That way we can start making the moves that we need to make. Our back was against the wall the whole time we were on that. Now we have time. We also have better strategy plans in place. We know what worked and what didn't work. We learned from some mistakes that we made, and we learned from all the successes that we had.
Yeah.
So, and of course, this is going to be a process that we're going to learn every single time, and hopefully get better every single time. Um, but that's why we're talking about it now because we know that it's important to start getting it in people's heads that this is coming up.
Yeah.
So,
So on that note, because what happened last year with 127 and the work that organizations such as yourself and the money spent and all that kind of stuff, the effort that went into that, that's something that at least at that scale, that publicly, I don't know that hunting has ever seen a fight like that at that level before. And through that, I feel like hunters, we'll just classify everybody as hunters here.
sure.
We displayed to the anti-group that that we can play at that level.
Hmm.
Are you worried, especially with, okay, you're talking about now we have time to prepare. We have until November of 26 to potentially work on this and get it prepared. And especially, I mean, you're on our show. Not that the whole world's listening to my to this show,
Right,
but
right, sure.
you're on our show talking about it. Are you worried about them seeing the playbook? Are you worried about them also having time to prepare for what you are trying to deliver?
I think they already are um, anticipating.
Hmm.
I think their playbook. This is well. Let me back up a little bit here. So, my opinion about anti-hunting is that the people that run it, in all honesty, I feel like they really don't care if they win or lose because it's a big business model for them, and no good crisis goes unwasted.
True.
So anytime they have crisis, it's a huge um, fundraising mechanism for them. And I'm sure, at some level they want to win, obviously. Everybody wants to win. But if you look through time, they have this like sue and settle, um, business model. They have this business model that whether they win or lose, they always win no matter what. They win financially.
Right.
Hunting doesn't have that. We don't have that at all. And um, and let's just say going on what you were, how you were putting it, the one thing, the one major thing that we have that they don't have is we have truth and science on our
Hmm.
side. Their whole, no matter how well they play their playbook, if somebody looks past the first two layers and looks behind the curtain, they see that it's all BS.
Hmm.
that it's all lies, it's all propaganda.
It's all based on emotion.
Yeah. Well, even if it was just based on emotion and they were stating that it was based on emotion, this is how we feel, whatever. They would they still don't have a a leg to stand on, really.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that they're not dangerous, because let's look at the world. I mean, we get our information from freaking TikTok and Instagram. Oh, I saw this. This is the best thing ever. We 5 seconds we watched whatever, and
Yeah,
we're already
your
expert on the
7 second attention span on a reel is what
exactly.
is the average or something, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. So it, it's actually the world is primed to, you know, do well for them. Matter of fact, Charles and I were having this conversation the other day, and if it was just about like money and I didn't care about hunting and I didn't care about what happens, I would go work for the other side. You know,
Yeah.
they got it so easy, like it's so, and their support base is ridiculous. We hunters are so apathetic to everything, and we could. I mean, it's kind of silly. I mean, I don't I hate to bash on us as a group. I'm gonna give you an example. I'm gonna give you two examples actually. So I was just at a show, and I was out there talking to people, and I can't tell you how many times I talked to guys that would literally chew my ear off for 20 minutes, which is fine. I'm out there to talk. I'm out there to discuss this whole thing. 20 minutes, they'll bitch about their commission. They'll bitch about wolves. They'll bitch about predators, not having enough opportunity. And then you ask them to get involved, and crickets, nothing. No involvement, no financial support. They just, oh yeah, I'll come back later. I mean,
Yep.
I'll come back later. Okay, sure. Sure you will.
Mhm.
And I was telling Charles, I'm like, man, half the time, as soon as I start talking about advocacy and this and that, I can see people glazing over. I go back to the fact that they can win a hunt. And then they're like, oh, yeah, they got really interested again.
Mhm.
And that to me sucks. That sucks. Like it feels bad for me to have to even say it because I don't want to sit here and call people out. And I don't like to think that way of people I associate myself with. I associate myself as a hunter, and we're all hunters. Another example, back when Charles and I started this thing, Charles whipped up this, and you and I might have talked about this before. He whipped up this change.org deal. We had like 30%, that's the way he worded it. We had like 30% anti-hunting and non-hunting people donating
Wow.
to that change.org. That tells me something, you know,
Hmm.
like that's not even their issue, but they're willing to get involved. And like you look at all the things like, man, in order for us to, now, don't get me wrong, we have a pay to play system in place. So a lot of guys are like, well, I already pay for my license. I already buy firearms and ammo, whatever, and Pittman Robinson and yada, yada, yada. All great stuff. But, and I don't even know if that's the reason, but I'm giving that, I'm giving the benefit of the doubt that there's
Right.
some,
Yeah.
that people feel that way, that I already do my part, or I'm already part of, RMEF or Mule Deer Foundation, whatever. I already do my part. But what the big thing that bothers me about it is if you go to, there is no, I shouldn't even, there's not even, at least that I know of, there's no cats aren't trophies banquets,
I
right?
haven't heard of one. Yeah.
They're not giving away bird watching trips or the the newest and greatest hemp backpack. They're not.
Yeah.
Like they're not incentivizing their support base. They're not saying, "Oh, you can win this awesome thing, do this raffle and blah 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 blah,"
Yeah. Go look at the deer. Yeah.
But we have to do that in our business,
Hmm.
in our business model. Like, right, let's face it, it's a nonprofit, but it still has to be a business, right? So in order for us to get, and this is not everybody. I don't want to put everybody in the
Right.
same category, but a large majority of people don't, unless there's in it something in it for them, they don't want to, they don't want to be involved. Not that they don't want to be involved.
Well, it's even us as hunters.
It's a weird thing.
Yeah, we still, even though we are 100% on board, agree with all of it from, from our angle, we're still so caught up in the now. What do I get out of it now? Do I get to go on this hunt now? All that kind of stuff instead of focusing on the long-term effects. Because like for me in Texas, I am not, as a Texas resident who hunts down here, I am in no way, shape, or form immediately and directly impacted by anything that's going on up there in
No,
Colorado.
I mean, Texas is pretty damn insulated, like
It
from a
it
lot of stuff.
it is, and there's so many hunters in Texas.
Sure.
And a lot of hunters, I'll rag on us, a lot of hunters in Texas that don't pay attention to this stuff or don't care about this stuff because it's
And why should they?
Colorado.
It
It's
doesn't
not
affect
Texas.
them.
It's they have their own political beliefs like, beautiful state, great wildlife, sucks to be them
They're
type.
turning it into California. Yeah, like you
Exactly.
get it all for
But
sure.
you look at the more long-term outlook on it, and I don't know what the political or the commission landscape in any state's going to look like in a decade.
Right.
And for me, it also comes down to looking at, all right, what's happening now? What
Hmm.
are the long-term, forward stemming effects of this if this goes poorly, if this goes not in the favor of, hunting, conservation, science-based wildlife management? If this goes poorly, then what's to stop that from going to the next state and the next state and the next
Sure.
state? And
Sure.
eventually, if organizations such as you guys, Howl for Wildlife, and plenty of others out there, if they go unsupported by the greater hunter population, then it's only a matter of time before potentially the anti-hunting argument swallows up the scenery. And
Sure.
even though Howl for Wildlife could still be here, without the support now, how are you
Yeah.
guys going to have the support a decade from now to advocate for issues that may or may not be in states that are perfectly fine right now when it comes to
100%.
their rights as hunters? So that's a poor I did a poor job of explaining
No,
my thought
you
process
did a
on it
great job
because
of it.
even though I hunt Colorado as a non-resident, but not everybody down here does, but that doesn't mean it doesn't affect you or that it won't later on.
So hear me when I say this. No matter what state you're in, what you enjoy to hunt, what method of take you enjoy, every time you lose hunting somewhere, any type of hunting, it will affect you and it hurts you. Hunters don't realize how interconnected we are, and they don't, like a guy in Texas doesn't realize that a guy in Arizona who loses mountain lion hunting, it trickles back to you.
Mhm.
And I've spent a lot of time connecting the dots for people and making them understand. And I think I might have did it on our last time I was on here with you. Um, but we are all in this together. Okay. Hunters occupy, we're the largest stakeholder, even though we're not the largest group at the conservation table. And the conservation table is all the different stakeholders that have a say in conservation. And even though we're only 5% of the population, because it's a user pay system, we are the largest stakeholder. And anytime you start removing people from that 5% and you start shrinking that down, it minimizes our voice. And there's many different ways to minimize that voice. There's many different ways. Like you take away participation, you take away types of hunting, you take away, um, you know, methods of take, and so on and so forth. It whittles away. It's a chipping. It's a war of attrition. And I'm going to jump up on my soapbox here for a second and pat myself on the back. I mean, it's at least what it's going to sound like. I'm not trying to do that. I'm 49 years old. Okay. I'm not saving hunting for me. I'm not out here doing what I'm doing for me.
Mhm.
I'm pretty confident that I got maybe 25 years left of hunting if I'm lucky, right? Um, I'm pretty sure that hunting's not going to go away in the next 20, 25 years.
Right.
I don't know 100%. I don't have a clear crystal ball, but I'm not saving it for me. I'm not, I'm not even saying it for my kids because my son, he loves it, but he's not passionate about it like I am. My two girls, they like to go just to be with dad. That's it. So I'm not even doing it for them. We're we're doing it for the generations that follow us, and we wanna know that this is coming, that or excuse me, that this is here for them once they get there.
Right.
You know, and if everybody had that mentality and not had the mentality of me, 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 what's in it for me, then I think we'd be better off. And if you look at the other side, let's compare hunting to the other side. Their mentality is they're not saving mountain lions for them. They're saving mountain lions for everyone,
Mhm.
you know? So like that's the things that they do right and we do wrong. I I don't know. I'm going to step back down off my soapbox because
No,
I'm basically I'm gonna create a bunch of enemies on here and not and not allies. People go, wow, that guy John Stone's a jerk. He's got his bad things to say about hunters. But I'm just trying to bring a realization.
right.
Like, hey, you know, one of the things that got me started into the whole howl thing, right, was I wanted hunters to be better to hunters because we're shitty to each other.
Oh
You
yeah.
know,
We are our own worst enemy in that. We
oh,
see that plenty in the
constantly.
online media world. Oh my gosh.
I mean, the most of my bashing that I get on me and my character and whatever is always done by a hunter. I mean, very rarely. I mean, I'll get the anti-hunting here and there that trolls my and tells me I should, what they think. But I mean, for the most part, it's hunters that say, have something to say
Mhm.
instead of us supporting each other. We don't do that. But that's a whole
Well,
nother,
no, it,
that's
it
a
it is
whole
a whole
nother
nother issue.
discussion.
And I won't make this podcast about that. I actually did an episode several episodes ago specifically about that and just
Oh,
talking
did you?
about how on on social media in particular, that's what I use as my example, but the antis are so quick to, hop on there and start bashing us, and where's the support from our own people, right? Where's the everything's negative, and even from
Right.
our own people we get the negative comments on that you
Yeah.
should have let him walk another year, or whatever guys want to
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
Everybody always has to have an opinion, it seems like. So
Sure, sure.
but yeah,
That's just human nature, I guess. You know, I'm optimistic and hopeful that a lot of that will change and people start understanding that, you know, that we are all in this together. We're all brethren.
right.
Um, and we might not agree with each other's methods or whatever, but the big picture, it's like if you think back about this country, really, what the last time that you saw the whole country was united was back when 9/11 happened. there was like a common enemy, you know? And I kind of hope that there'll be this realization that this enemy is on the horizon and in the shadows, really, to be honest with
Mhm.
you,
Mhm.
and has been there and just been chipping away, whittling away at everything that you want and everything that you love and everything that you believe in. Um, and they've been whittling away, and that's where your energy should be focused.
Yeah.
It should be on that, not telling the guy that he shouldn't, whatever. He
Yeah.
shouldn't take a shot over 50 yards or whatever. You know,
Yeah.
whatever flavor of the week we're talking about that week.
Yeah.
But
Exactly. Well, so speaking of whittling away and everything, because that seems to be an MO for the antis is we're chipping away at it slowly but surely. They find a weak spot or a gray area, a loophole, and that's their first opportunity to start working on it, right? You
mhm,
had mentioned to me before we recorded, and I know this is something you wanted to talk about also in Colorado, but I believe it's House Bill 25-1258.
correct.
Um, and let's talk about that a little bit because that while it may not seem as aggressive as Proposition 127 last
Hmm.
year, it seems like one of those little slices of the cake that they're starting to try and
Sure.
take, right?
Well, what it is, before you build any house, you got to lay down the foundation, right?
Right.
And they're trying to uh, lay the foundation down here. Um, so right now, hunting and fishing is um, is the major tool, is the primary tool for management purposes. And what this House bill would do would change the statutory language that hunting and fishing would merely be optional methods of managing wildlife rather than the mandatory tools. Um, it also says in there that CPW would rely on or refer to best available science, which is undefined.
Hmm.
Best available science can mean anything. I could be cats aren't trophies, and I could bring you this science, this social science that says that 85% of people don't like bear
That is
hunting,
so
whatever.
subjective. Yeah, golly.
Yeah. So and CPW would have to rely on that information, um, which means there's going to be lawsuits. It's left up to interpretation, creates a lot of confusion, and really it takes away from their ability to use their research, to use their um, you know effective science-based wildlife management. And you know, it's it's one of these things that like it's the building block to the next step. So it's kind of going underneath the radar a little bit, and nobody's really talking about it but Hal that I am aware of. Um, and I'd like to think I got my finger on the pulse, not just me. I say me, but the organization.
Right.
I'm actually as far as the organization goes, I'm the least informed when it comes to actual actual policy. It's not my hat that I wear in within the organization. But if I don't know about it, if we don't know about it, then and because other people aren't talking about it, then how is, the average guy that's out there hunting supposed to know about it and pay attention to it? It's a very dangerous piece of legislative. Oh my God, I can't speak legislation. And um, if it passes, I mean it can do some serious damage.
Well, yeah, you hit the nail on the head with it lays the foundation and opens a door for so many other things. Something that, at a glance or somebody that just isn't paying attention, could seem harmless, but that's language that, to your point, it shapes the future of what they're trying to do. So it's
Yeah.
dangerous.
Absolutely. So right now we have an action up on that in the Action Center on Health for Wildlife. So if you go to healthforwildlife.org and you go to the Action Center, you'll see that HB 25-1258. You know,
Gotcha.
yeah, it's I mean, I encourage people to get involved in that. I encourage people to get involved in all the actions that are on there. We actually put a tool on that on our Action Center before the last election cycle called Letter to the Editor, and this like it provides a tool for people who are savvy enough to construct a letter to the publications in their locale. Um, you could put out mission statements about how hunting's what hunting means to you or local things that are going on. That's a really great tool. But there's other actions in there, and as legislative season progresses here, will more and more stuff will pop up. There's a couple of California bills in there right now. There's the Colorado. There's one for Washington, and I think that's it. Maybe Oregon as well.
Yeah, I was gonna hit on that just a little bit because I know you kind of prefaced that for before our episode here about a couple actions that you guys are involved in over there in California as well. Obviously, Colorado has been the seems to have been just the spotlight on everybody's
Yeah.
radar here the past couple years. But um, what do you guys have cooking in California at the moment?
So California's got two different bills going on. One basically would allow mountain lion hunting. Well, not excuse me, not hunting of mountain lions. Would allow the pursuit of lions with dogs, like hazing, basically. And this is good for sportsmen on a number of different levels. One, it's going to keep lions out of neighborhoods and hopefully keep lions away from livestock and so on and stuff. So it's going to build support within those communities. But two, and most importantly, from my perspective, is you're admitting that there's a problem. And that's the first step to anything. You could talk to, anybody who's ever been a alcoholic or whatever, your first step is to admit that you have a problem, right? So
Yeah,
if you admit that there is a problem with lions and something needs to be done, it's very realistic to believe that the tool of hunting them will might be reintroduced. So
yeah.
it's a step in the right direction.
It's the same as I mean, we just talked about, chipping away at stuff,
Hmm.
them trying to take one small piece at a time to lay their
How we
foundation.
have to get
It
things back.
it it, it works the same way. You had that comparison even with the ballot box on, we don't believe in that, but hey, what's to keep us from using it to try and reverse it all, going
Sure.
back the other way. So
Yeah,
it works
I'm all
both
for that.
ways.
I'm all for that. I'm a very study my enemy and use use their tactics kind of guy, you
Yeah.
know. Sorry, my phone keeps going off here. I don't know if you hear it buzzing. Um, but there's that, and then there is one for bears. So California's got a ridiculous amount of bears, like 60,000 bears.
Oh wow.
Um, and they never meet the quota ever. And they did so much research in the last few years on how bears are affecting the deer population. And um, so this other bill is basically a revamp of that bear management program. Um, also has, I believe, some like non-lethal hazing stuff in there, and I believe it has some language in there. And then don't quote me on this, but I believe there's language on there that would allow, in a very controlled way, some hound hunting to take place.
Gotcha.
So it's another positive win. It's a step in the right direction. like you said, sometimes, you just have to take a step in the right direction. You look up the ridge and it's insurmountable, but
Well,
5 hours later you look up and you're like, oh, I made it up here. I'm
yeah.
up here. But it
Well,
took you one step at a time.
that's the other thing too that people have to think about and everything, because again, speaking in general terms from a perspective of somebody who, no disrespect, but just isn't paying attention to this kind of stuff. Well, they might recognize the importance of, what you guys are doing, but they want to see these great big strides, these great big changes, or at least that's their unrealistic or uneducated expectation that it's just gonna be a big fail swoop in one area or another, and oh, it's fixed now. Yay, mountain lion hunting's back in California,
Yeah,
whatever it might be, and they don't understand that just the long game, for lack of a better term, that it takes to get these
sure.
small wins that ultimately lead to winning the war. So,
Right. Yeah. Well, just like the other side's going for the easy, low-hanging fruit stuff and chipping away here and there, we have to do some of the same going back in the opposite direction.
mhm,
So,
yeah.
and that's some of these things are.
So I want to, and this would probably be more speaking in just your opinions. I don't know if there's anything being that's actively needs to be done or being done. You can speak to that more than I can, but just like using Proposition 127 as an
Hmm.
example, right? A huge win for hunters. But what what do people need to be mindful of? What do people need to be paying attention to ensure that that's maintained? Because it's very easy for folks to look at that and be like, "Oh, a win. Yay. On to the next thing." What what do people need to do to make sure that they don't come back with a vengeance on something like that, for example?
Well, it's just not being complacent, really.
Hmm.
I think even us, when we won that, we all wanted to exhale for a while,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Phew, that one's done,
Yeah.
you know. But you have to, like you said it, you have to have that mentality. Okay, on to the next. What's the next thing?
Hmm.
Because there's always something, and there's always somebody. I mean, hell, we thought they were going to leave Colorado alone, and now they're freaking hammering away at Colorado again because they know it's still per their playbook. It's still got the right political climate. It still has the right, um, methods to introduce things, so on and so forth. So, they're starting to do something here in Arizona for lion hunting. And Arizona, and I hate to make this a political thing, but Arizona was a very red state for a very long time, and now it's kind of purple. Um, and thank God we have a really great commission here. And but and I feel like we might be it might not be an issue. But they're bringing a petition to ban the use of hound hunting, or at least pack hound hunting. You probably could get away with one dog or whatever. Haven't really read their petition all the way through yet, or haven't really seen it. Actually, shouldn't say that. I haven't read through it. I haven't really seen their actual petition yet. Um, but they want to do away with pack hunting here, and they're going. This is what they do. They go at the commission level first, see what traction they can get.
Hmm.
And if they get enough traction to pass it, then great. Obviously, they won. But I don't think they go into it thinking that they're going to win. Again, I go back to that whole mentality of how they fundraise. So they go in, oh, we're going to try here, we're going to try here, we're going to try here, and we fail. Okay. Now we're going to go to the legislative level. We're going to try to get somebody to sponsor a bill, and we're going to try to get it in through this way. Da 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 da. Same thing, and it fails. Now, but we had every single time we got more money and we saw more involvement. Okay. And this is what they do. And then it goes to the ballot. Now we let the citizens vote on it. So let's get out there and spread our propaganda and try to change and sway as many minds as possible also while generating a crap ton of money. And, it's just to give you an idea, to go back to the 127, I said it cost us 5 million. They outspent our campaign, I want to say 3 or maybe 4 to 1.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So to
That's
give you an
big.
idea, if you got that much money to put out that much stuff, and thank God we were able to bash them back down. I mean, you got to be getting the money from somewhere, right?
Right.
So
No, and I think that goes, I mean, it goes back to, obviously educating the people who are in the middle, because those who are strong supporters of hunting and what you guys are doing, obviously they don't need any convincing. Likewise, somebody who is a strong, just hard-headed supporter of the anti-hunting community and groups, not going to sway them. It's the people in the middle that you have to convince. I know when Dan Gates came on our show, he talked about how he was out to dinner one night or something, and just randomly decided he was going to go up to random people and have conversations, just and had 23 conversations with individuals who had a certain political viewpoint, and
sure,
I think he said like 20 or 21 of them, he was able to convince and educate on, hey, this is why line hunting is important.
right.
It's just they don't know.
They're gonna believe whatever they think is the most valid stuff. And like I said, as soon as you start unpeeling the first couple of veils of, or the first couple of curtains, whatever, the first few layers of BS, people can see through that.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we just saw that in the election on the, with Trump and everything else. There was this like they constantly put out this BS, they constantly put out this BS, and it took people taking the time to look past that, what they were seeing in social media and whatever, um, to make a more informed decision,
Yeah.
right? And that's why he did well. And it goes back to that same thing. You want people um to understand where you're coming from, right?
Right.
You have to put out the best education and not
And
be bullshitting people, because eventually people are going to see through that.
and all the more reason for all of us to be educated so we can answer the questions, we can represent and
Sure,
speak to it, adequately, and then also just being able to uphold and represent hunting professionally in general terms. And I'm not talking professional like obviously like, you know, suit and tie. I'm just talking about, being respectful
sure.
of other folks, because, the second that you start coming across as, a bloodthirsty killer,
Well, yeah, you said it earlier.
yeah,
You
that's
don't
when
want to be the
people are.
poster child for the other side. You want to be an ambassador for hunting.
Exactly. That's when people are going to start losing interest and all that kind of stuff. And it's really funny because I, I engage a lot of the comments the negative comments that we have, on our socials and stuff like that from the anti-hunting group. And they battle back and forth a little bit, but every
Mhm.
single time, as soon as you start throwing factual information
Yeah,
in there,
they
no,
don't
no
care. They don't
emotions,
have
no
a,
personal
yeah,
bias, they stop commenting. They have
of
to. They
course.
don't have anything. And
Exactly.
again, I'm not going to change that person's mind, but just, and I'm using this as an example to anybody listening who might be in a state where they're like, I don't have a battle to fight right now. There's
Mhm.
always a battle to fight, even if it's on your own stinking
Every
social
state,
media
your battle.
page. Yeah, exactly.
Every state, every type of hunting is your battle.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%. Yeah.
Well, man, for folks listening to this who didn't know about HOWL before now, they're hearing you talk about it, and how can they get involved? I know you've plugged a couple of different things that you guys have on your website and different actions and stuff like that. But just speaking in general terms, or if there's something specific people are interested in, how can they find y'all? How can they get involved? How can they contribute? All that kind of stuff.
Well, um, I mean, I'd love you to become a member.
Yeah.
We have a bunch of different types of members, and it goes back to what we were talking about, incentivizing and so on and so forth. We kind of put a little something in there for everybody. We have partnerships with Go Hunt. We have um, you know, partnerships with Pope and Young and American Bear Foundation and so on and so forth. So like there's there's ways for you to get involved um, from $30 all the way up to here. I'm gonna incentivize you guys right now, right? Um, we have we partnered with the Elk Bros or Blue Collar Elk Hunting, and what we done is for $299 a year membership, you get about $460 worth of baked in value into that $299. You get a Onyx Elite gift card for $100. And so even if you don't have Onyx already, or if you have Onyx, you can just add that gift card and it'll either add on to what you have or it gives you an elite membership. Um, there's a venture club on there, which is like a discount club basically, and you save anywhere from 20% to 50, I think, is the top. Most people can recoup that $299 just on savings that they're getting through that. Um, there is the online blue collar elk hunting course that comes with that. So you have an online, it's like the most comprehensive elk hunting course out there. If you want to learn how to become a better elk hunter, if you're especially if you're coming from like the East Coast or whatever, and you're planning on coming elk hunting in the West, awesome, 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 awesome. You get the HOWL membership, which is another like a $30 membership. You get tacked onto that. But the here's the incentive
Yeah.
incentive item here, right? You have, and this made a lot of sense to me. You have a 1 in 100 chance to win a fully guided elk hunt in New Mexico with the Elk Bros. It's actually called a coached hunt. So what it means is they're going to guide you, but as they're guiding you, they're going to teach you how to be a better elk hunter along the way. Bull elk have 1 in 100 chance to win. So every 100 people that join with that membership has one chance to win. So it's in blocks of 100. Every 100 that joins, there's one person that gets drawn out of the hat to win that hunt. And there's 20 different hunts. So the first 2,000 people per
Wow.
year that joins that will win a hunt.
That's
So,
awesome.
or I shouldn't say first 2,000 will win a hunt, have a chance to win one
Have a
hunt.
chance. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, so the way I looked at that was just for me to get a tag in Wyoming, for instance, I'm not picking on Wyoming, but I'm using that as an example. I put $220 out for me to get a chance to acquire a tag and go hunt myself on public land. Maybe.
Mhm.
It's been 14 years, by the way, since I've drawn a tag in Wyoming. Now I'm putting in for draw specifically for draw units, not for the general. You could probably draw a general tag every like 4 or 5 years, but I'm trying to draw a specific unit and it's been 14 years.
Yeah.
So the way I look at it is like I'm doing my part, I'm helping, and I could go hunt on private land. So, and I'm having this conversation. I'm telling you guys this because like I can't win it. If I could, I would do it,
Yeah.
you know? So I've told all my friends and family to get involved with it. So I'm like it's like better odds than like if coming from Arizona, like okay, I live in state in Arizona, but if you were wanting to come hunt in Arizona, go elk hunting, which is New Mexico, Arizona, and Nevada are probably the three top, and then maybe Utah. Um, if I wanted to go come hunt here, I'd have to buy a $160 license. I'd have to put up $20 for my bonus point, basically, or for my application. You know, so you're $180 into it, right? Every single time, and you have some of these units are less than 1%. So
Yeah.
it's like,
Exactly.
you know, the way I see it, I'm like, just a great opportunity, a great tag strategy. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of other things on there. Get on there, listen. And here's the thing, and I've kind of wanted to get away from saying this because it sets the bar so low that you could step over it. But I'm going to say it because I still believe in it. We have a free membership if you just want to dip your toe in the water and, test it out, get on there, get the free membership. We want you to be involved. That's why it was created, because we never wanted to tell people, oh, you don't want to give us $30, you can't be involved. Like, you want to be involved. I get it. Some people, honestly, $30 might be a much for them. I don't want to disparage them in any other way, but they want to be involved. Or if you're just not quite sure about it, get on there, do that, but be involved.
Yeah.
Don't ignore the emails. Oh, it's not in my state, not in my backyard. I don't. I got one statistic for you about that specifically that it bugs the crap out of me. So every time we have 50,000 members, right? Or more now, probably 60. I keep saying 50, but I've been saying that for about 6 months. And every time that there's an action, we'll see, 3 to 5,000 people get involved. What does that tell me? It tells me that 50,000 people, they got involved at some point because something was meaningful to them, and now they're not active. Every time there's an action, in my opinion, all 60,000 people should be signing on to it.
Right.
We've been able to, HOWL for Wildlife has been able to move mountains with our action center, and we have won well into the 90 percentile. I don't know exactly what it is. I'd have to go figure it out. Won actions with thousands of people. And if we had that larger number, hell, there's 16 million hunters in the United States. Could you imagine how well we would do if we had half of that getting involved in everything? We would literally be undeniable.
Yeah, it'd be crazy.
So, you got to have that mentality. Don't wait till it's in your backyard. Don't wait till it means something to you specifically. Just be involved in all of it, because we're all connected.
Yeah, like, man, even just being involved in that standpoint, I mean, you said it just in the simple statement of don't ignore the emails, right? Like, you guys are giving everybody the tools that they need to stay plugged in and to be paying attention. It couldn't be easier. I guess I'll put it that way. It couldn't be easier to have a general understanding on what is going on in the greater hunting community. You don't have to get on Google and research it all yourself. The email pops up in your inbox.
Sure. We made it super easy. That's what we wanted to be, as low bar, create the easy button for everybody to get involved. And it still amazes me how that's not enough, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, I hope that
now that I created a bunch of enemies and
well, I hope that it's the opposite. I hope that we get a little bit of a push from some of our audience to go get involved in various capacities. But I don't want to cut you short or miss anything. But before I wrap up, is there anything else you want to hit on or talk about while we got you on here?
No, I'm done listening to myself speak. Thank you.
That's the whole point, man. You're the subject matter expert.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, man. It's always a pleasure. I always enjoy talking about this kind of stuff with whoever it might be and everything. And I don't doubt that it'll be your last time on our show. I'm sure we'll have plenty more to talk about in the future as stuff continues to evolve with you guys and what's going on out there in the world. So
perfect. Thanks a lot.
For our listeners, appreciate y'all tuning in. Please go support HOWL for Wildlife, whatever capacity that looks like for you. Get involved, pay attention, stay plugged in, all the stuff we've been talking about. If you have any questions, anything you want to know more about, reach out to us through the comment section or through our social medias. We'd be happy to get you plugged in or give you the information, resources you need. With that, we're hanging it up, and I'll be back with you guys again next week for another podcast. Thanks for tuning in.